All right, welcome. So this video is my proven system for building and maintaining new habits. So I'm going to be teaching you guys exactly how you can build new habits and how you can maintain them over a long period of time. And I call this a proven system because I have used it across multiple different examples. I've used it to change and transform my life, my habits, and I've done it with multiple different kinds of habits in multiple different areas of life. So I can vouch for the ability to apply this to anything that you have going for you or that you want to improve upon. And I've also used this exact system to help other people build new habits, maintain new habits, and create structure within their lives. So I know that the system works. I've seen that it works. And if you don't believe me, you can believe James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, the book who inspired this exact framework. Because to be honest, that is where I got this framework, is from Atomic Habits. And by applying it to my own life, I've seen how it can work, how it operates, and how you can apply it to multiple different areas of life, multiple different types of habits, and multiple different types of people as well. So to begin, we're going to talk about the power of habits and why you need them. Why are habits so important in the first place? Why are we talking about habits, and why would you need a framework for how to incorporate new habits? The importance of habits comes from the fact that they are an essential foundational piece to any form of success. So they are an essential building block in any form of long-term success, meaning that the habits that you maintain uplift and uphold the structure that you are building. So whatever it is you are trying to create in your life, whether it is you want to be successful and make money, you want to be an athlete, you want to be a professional athlete, you want to learn more, become more intelligent, you want to become more spiritually advanced, you want to advance in your career, you want to learn and be a good student if you're in college or if you're in school. Or if you're self-educated and you want to be able to optimize your self-education structure to be able to learn as much as possible, habits are going to be the pillars that uphold this structure, meaning the habits that you maintain determine the character that you have. So you could build any type of success. We'll use money as an example. You could build a business and become successful in business. But if your habits do not align with the type of lifestyle of an entrepreneur, of somebody who is successful, of somebody who can maintain success, well, then that structure will eventually crumble and fall. However, if your habits do optimize for being an entrepreneurial and building this extraordinary creation or business that you're trying to build and create and become successful within, if you have the right habits, you will be able to not only become successful, but you will be able to maintain that success. And on top of that, you'll be able to continuously build upon that success, because who you are, the character that you maintain, and the habits that you perform every single day support continual growth, continual evolution, continual learning. And therefore, when you apply your energy to building a business, you are the type of person who can improve upon whatever it is you're building, right? And so the habits that you maintain determine how easy it is for you to become successful, is a good way to look at that. It is much easier for someone to become successful if their habits support growth and optimal performance versus somebody whose habits are a negative to what he's trying to build. He will constantly be split in two different directions. The things that you do consistently every single day will determine who you become over a long time frame. Habits are deeply associated with the compound effect. These small habits that we have and that we maintain today completely transform our lives over the long term. Think about if you were to begin exercising today. If you're unhealthy, you're unfit, and you're currently lazy, and you go for a walk today, right? You'll come back and you won't feel any less lazy, lethargic, and fat. However, if you walked every day for just 10 minutes, which is a very small amount of time, it's a very minuscule impact on your day right now. But if you were to do that every day for 10 minutes for the next year, by the end of that year, you would find that your energy levels are better. You have better mobility. You have better core strength. You might have lost some weight. And you may even have started to develop some other healthy habits associated with fitness because of the fact that you've been consistently working at something that is associated with fitness as well. So the small habits, they have such a minuscule impact on your day right now. But over the long term, over a long time frame, what actually happens is you begin to compound the results of this habit. So instead of these habits adding and building upon each other linearly, they happen exponentially. So right now, if you're walking, you notice a very small up curve, very small, very minuscule, nothing big yet. But if you maintain the habit consistently over a long period of time, slowly what starts to happen is you hit the up curve, and the up curve looks a little bit more like this. And so that is what we are going for when it comes to habits. We are trying to maintain the right habits so that when we do hit the curve, we're hitting an up curve and not a down curve. If you are currently smoking every day, you may notice a cough as the extent of the damage being done. But if you do so over 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you'll notice that your lungs actually slowly do start to deteriorate. Your ability to run and your endurance and your ability to breathe, your respiratory system will start to weaken, will start to crumble. You will notice the negatives. After 10 years, you will begin to have real adverse health effects, real conditions that are associated with the fact that you've been smoking over the last 10 years. But 10 years ago, when you would smoke a cigarette, you'd hardly notice. You didn't notice that these negatives were compounding. But after 10 years, they're so apparent that you can't argue with it. It's very obvious that smoking can cause lung cancer. If you die of lung cancer, that is the compounded effect, the compounded result of 10 years of singular cigarettes, not one singular cigarette. So we can apply that across both scenarios. If we want to become successful, that means that we need to maintain the right habits in order to compound the right results over a long period of time. So that gets into how to actually develop new habits, how to build new habits, and then we'll get into how to maintain them next. So set your goal and identify the habit you want to build. So this step is key. What is it you're actually trying to achieve as far as changing your habits? What is your goal? Do you want more mental clarity? Do you want more productivity, more optimized performance, right? Do you want to be healthier? Do you want to be happier? Do you want to be smarter and more intelligent? What is it you actually want to achieve? What direction do you want your life to go? And then exactly what habit will allow you to get there? So an example could be if you want more mental clarity, right? Meditation is a good habit, or journaling is a good habit. If you want more mobility so that your training sessions, you feel better in your training sessions, you would want to consider yoga. You would want to consider stretching. If you're out of shape and you're unhealthy and you want to get into shape, exercise, going to the gym, running, walking, these things could be habits that you could place in your lifestyle that would help you to get there over a long time frame. Now, once we have identified what it is we want to achieve, then we identify what habit associated with that goal will help us get there. So this isn't goals as in like, I want to achieve 10K per month in my business. I want to become a professional athlete. These are simply just what type of lifestyle do you want to see yourself live? What type of things are you trying to boost in your life? And therefore, what habits can support that? Because remember, habits themselves aren't going to make or break your success, right? You can become successful with terrible habits. What habits do is they create a structure and a framework for who you are, what type of person you are, that determines how well you're able to build, maintain, and then expand upon success that you may get in the future. So the point here is that it isn't to get the success, but it is a supporting mechanism to the success. Meaning by determining what exact traits we want to increase, what experiences we want to optimize for, we can determine what habits will help us get there. So simply identify why you need new habits, why you need to make this change and this alteration in your habits, and what it is you're trying to get from making this alteration and this change in your habits. So set that goal, which again, it's a smaller goal than your big goals, because all you're doing is identifying the need for alteration in habits, and then what habit you will actually incorporate in order to achieve that. So the next thing is set a time and a location to start. When you know exactly where and exactly when you are going to do each habit, it becomes much easier to actually do it than it would be if you don't plan for it. If you just say, I'll do it in my free time tomorrow, whenever I have available time, what typically happens is you already have automatic behaviors set for specific free blocks of time at specific points in the day. Meaning, What is happening here is you are basically going to end up not doing it, because the new habit is going to be the most difficult thing for your brain to do right now. It's going to be the thing you have most resistance to because it's new. What your brain would like to do is follow its automatic unconscious set of behaviors throughout the day. So if you just say, I'll do it in my free time, what actually happens is the next time you have free time, you may not even be aware, but your brain already has automatic behaviors set in place to perform and to initiate every single time you have a free block, and depending on what point in the day that free block is, your brain has different automatic behaviors set. So if you just say, I'll do it whenever I'm free tomorrow, you won't actually do it because there's no point in the day where you will feel as though you are fully psychologically free. Your brain will always have an automatic behavior, an automatic script to run. Your job here is altering that automatic script. So to do so, you need to clearly define when and where you're going to begin doing this habit. So for example, if I was to be starting a yoga habit, what I would do is I would say, after work, in my room, at around 11 a.m., I'm going to do my yoga routine. And that is a very clearly defined place, location, or time, location, and also what events are happening around that specific habit. So after I work, before I train. Then, now that we have this specific time and place, that means it is a non-negotiable that at 11 a.m. tomorrow, after I get home from work, I will be doing my yoga habit. Now, we have to make it obvious and easy to initiate. So, what do we do for this? The best way to look at this is basically removing friction, removing barriers of resistance to starting and initiating the habit. That way, the only barrier of resistance we have to face is associated with the work itself. So, for example, in yoga, the only resistance I face is the resistance that I'm going through throughout the process of doing my yoga routine, not getting all of my stuff together, finding an open space. For yoga, it's pretty obvious and straightforward. If it's work, let's say your laptop is in one room, your desk is in another, and your microphone and recording setup is in a third room. If you have to gather everything together and put it in the room you're recording in from all these different rooms, each time you have to go and take the step of getting something and bringing it to a new location, that's going to be more resistance, more friction associated with starting. And your brain will use that to stop you from actually doing the new habit. So what you need to do is make it very easy to initiate, so that way you don't have to worry about the resistance barriers. You just have to manage your mind, keep yourself focused, show up, and actually work through whatever it is the new habit that you're trying to initiate is. So making it easy to initiate means it is essentially as simple as possible to go from not doing the habit to doing the habit, is an easy way to put that. So for example, when I record, all of my recording stuff, my entire recording setup is literally here on my desk. All I have to do is bring my phone, bring my script, and I'm good to go. So therefore, there's a lot less resistance associated with beginning the habit of recording a video. The next thing is using triggers and habit stacks. So a habit stack is essentially a series of habits put together into a single habit, meaning the first habit triggers the next set of habits, right? So let's say there's 3 habits in a habit stack. You have your first habit. By doing that and initiating that habit and completing it, you trigger the beginning of this next habit, which triggers this third habit. That is what a habit stack is, essentially. And using habit stacks is as simple as identifying 3 to 4 habits that you think go good together, that seem to flow well together, and placing them into a series in the day. An example for me is my main habit stack is in the morning. I wake up and do my morning routine, which in and of itself is a habit stack, but we'll call it a habit for this example. My morning routine is a single habit, which triggers my work habit, which is showing up, doing my work at the office, which when I complete that and go home, that triggers my first meal and also my yoga, which then triggers my training session. This series is what I'm referring to as a habit stack. So by using habit stacks, you make it a lot easier to do multiple habits in one bunch, and it takes a lot less mental energy to do each individual habit than it does to just do the full habit stack. The next thing is triggers. You want to be using triggers in order to make it easy for you to begin the habit. So for example, a trigger can be time of day or location. Triggers are simply just cues for your brain to initiate the habit. So anything that your brain associates with the beginning and the initiation and the process of going through that specific habit, that's what a trigger is. So for smokers, typically you will see that stress can be a trigger for a smoker. The smell of cigarettes can be a trigger for a lot of smokers, right? Being on break at work, me and my girl were just discussing this. Going on break at work can be a trigger for you to smoke, right? A lot of people go on break just to go outside and sit and smoke a cigarette, right? That can be a trigger for that specific habit. The next thing is if you were to do it in a positive example, right? Yoga, for yoga to be triggered, you could use the location. I go in my room, my mat's out, I know it's time to do my yoga. Time and location, like I had said before. Another thing is you could just set a reminder on your phone. If the reminder on your phone goes off every day at 11 a.m. and says, hey, it's time to do your yoga, well, you're going to start to associate that reminder with beginning your habit of doing yoga. So that can then be a trigger at that point, right? You think of an alarm, right? An alarm clock is a habit trigger, right? It triggers you to wake up. But if you condition yourself to hear that alarm and associate that with the habit of snoozing that said alarm, that is also going to be a habit, and therefore your habit trigger becomes the alarm, and the habit is snoozing the alarm and ignoring it and going back to bed. So you can use multiple different triggers to initiate multiple different types of habits, but the key here is, and the point here is that you need to identify what triggers are going to be most effective for you to be able to start your habit, and how you can place them in your day in such a way that helps you to actually do that. So next is consistency and how to maintain, right? It's important to stay consistent, right? And consistency is a matter of discipline, and it's a matter of repetitions. You just want to be continuously showing up every day, right? Don't avoid the work. Make sure that you do it. You have to take the action in order to get the repetition. But by simply taking the action every day and getting the repetition in every day, you will be building this habit and maintaining this habit over a long period of time. And when you maintain the habit, you ingrain the habit. I like to say maintain to ingrain, right? So by maintaining the habit over a long, consistent period of time, you ingrain it deeper, and therefore making it a more solid habit in your daily structure, a more solid piece and portion and aspect of your identity. And also it makes it much easier to initiate and to do the habit. And from this point, it's good to focus on increasing performance, right? You don't have to worry so much about how well you do or how much you perform necessarily during this process of initiating and solidifying the habit. But once you have solidified this habit, you can then work on increasing your performance within it, right? Making sure that if you are doing yoga, for example, you start off with just simple 10-minute routines, which is what I'm doing. Start off with simple routines, and eventually you get to the point where you have this deeply complex, like specific, intentional routine that you build over time. The point is not to try and get here. The point is to build a habit so that you do it consistently enough to eventually get here, right? Where you have this established routine versus just the 10-minute ones on YouTube. Habits are built through repetition, not intensity. So as we get good at doing it, whatever the thing is, or consistent with it, and it becomes an ingrained habit, then we can focus on increasing intensity. So that is all I have for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, leave a like. And if you want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe. If you learned anything valuable, comment down below. I always like to read what you guys have. And if you like short form content, you could check out my TikTok and my Instagram, both of which are linked in the first and second description in my... And if you like short form content, you could go ahead and check out my Instagram and my TikTok, both of which are in the description below. So, like I said, so that is all I have for this video, and I hope you guys did enjoy. Peace.